action, consciousness are also like this Jai Putra. All dharmas are essentially empty, not born, not destroyed, not stained, not pure, without loss, without gain. Therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no perception, mental reaction, consciousness, no idea, no sound, body, mind, no color, sound, smell, taste, touch, objects of mind, no seeing, and so on, to no thinking, no ignorance, and also no ending of ignorance, and so on, to no old age and death, and also no ending of old age and death, no suffering, cause of suffering, cessation, path, no wisdom, and no attainment, since there is nothing to attain. The bodhisattva lives by prajna paramita, with no hindrance in the mind, no hindrance, thus no fear, far beyond elusive thinking. Right here is nirvana, set forth the prajna paramita mantra, set forth this mantra and proclaim Gutei, 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 Holy Swaha.
I will take a koan from the Mombonka or Gateless Gate. I have given Teishos on this koan, but still let me talk about that. The case. Master Gutei, whenever he was questioned, just stuck up one finger. At one time he had a young attendant whom a visitor asked, "What is the Zen your master is teaching?" The boy also stuck up one finger. Hearing of this, Gutei cut off the boy's finger with a knife. As the boy ran out screaming with pain, Gutei called to him. When the boy turned his head, Gutei stuck up his finger. The boy was suddenly enlightened. When Gutei was about to die, he said to the assembled monks, "I attained 10 use Zen of one finger. I used it all through my life, but could not exhaust it." When he had finished saying this, he died. Momon's commentary: the Satori of Gutei and of the boy attendant are not in the finger. If you really see through this, Tenryu, Gutei, the boy, and you yourself are all run through with one skewer. Momon's poem: Gutei made a fool of old Tenryu. With a sharp knife he chastised the boy. Korei raised his hand with no effort, and lo, the great ridge of Mount Ka was split in two. This is a well-known koan, and bit also shocking. Similar koans are there, nonsense cuts a cat in two and so on. Gutei lived in the 9th century in China. We don't know much about his history, biography. It is said he lived within a hut on a mountain. He was reciting a dharani. Dharani means a mantra, a sutra, mantra. It begins with the Gutei Dharani. See, Gutei Dharani was reciting all the time. And so he was called Gutei. They don't know even his name as such, except by the Dharani's name, Gutei. And he was, of course, well known. People used to visit him. One day a nun came to visit him. Usually, in, I suppose, China or Japan, when the visitor comes to see the master, they remove the sandals and the hat outside the hall and then come, make prostrations and wait for the master to ask the question. The nun came, she walked with her sandals and hat on, walked around 3 times around him and then said, say a word. That means say a Zen word. Then I will take my hat off and remove my shoes. Gutei didn't know what to say. And then she was leaving. It was getting evening. Then Gutei called out to her and said, Nun, it is getting late. Why don't you stay somewhere here? And the nun again turned around and said, say a Zen word, I will stay. Otherwise I am walking off. He couldn't say any word. She walked off. He was very ashamed. I am supposed to be a master and I can't even answer the nun one word. And so he thought he should leave the mountain, go away, maybe and practice with some master. But during the night, the mountain deity appeared to him in a dream and said, wait here, a master will come and help you. And he was, waiting eagerly for a master to come. After a few days, a wandering Zen master by name Teisho was passing by and he heard of Gutei and he came visit him. And Gutei eagerly told him the whole story and asked him, how should I have answered the nun? Teisho put up his finger like this. Suddenly, some dam broke in Gutei. He was awakened. That was all. The nun's name is supposed to be Gutei. Gutei means true world. And the master's name, of course, Teisho. Teisho is known historically. And then the second part, Gutei was teaching all the time, only with his one finger. Whatever you came and asked, simply put up his finger, you see. That was all his way of teaching. And he had an attendant, young man. And so when people came to visit Gutei, they asked him, how does your master teach? And the boy also put up his finger. And so you know the story. I mean, the Gutei heard of this, he called him, caught hold of him, cut off his finger. And the boy, of course, screaming with pain, was running out. And he called him back. And when he turned back, Gutei put up his finger. And the boy got enlightened. Now, this is an interesting story. Did it really happen or not? Most likely it's a story, made-up story, you see. Maybe it didn't happen exactly. And also, do you think your finger is cut off, you will get enlightened? And the question also is, what was the emotion or attitude of Gutei when he cut hold of the boy and cut off his finger? What do you think? How would Gutei felt? You see, here the Zen stories, they don't talk about emotions. They talk only about answers, questions, actions, behavior. They don't talk about very much about emotions. Don't you think Gutei should have had some emotions? You see, when he caught hold of him and cut off his finger, what sort of emotions must have been in Gutei? Do you think he wanted only to enlighten the boy?
He was angry.
Or what else? Okay, think about that also, you see. And another point, the boy, of course, imitating. Imitation is not wrong. We all learn by imitation. But your whole life becomes imitation, then a problem. I mentioned René Girard. He talks about imitative desire. I talk about that in one of my Teishos. The title is Kill the Buddha. It comes in Zen, Ancient and Modern in one of my books. You can read that. And so, imitative desire. Our desires come from imitation of others. And then it will be turned into rivalry, competition, and anger, hatred, and even distraction. You see, our desires will lead to distraction almost. That's a dangerous thing. Once you begin this sort of imitative desires. So the boy is, sort of only imitating. He's not genuine. So our question is for us also, how genuine are we? Are our desires coming from our heart, or are we simply imitating and so on? Now, this I said, historically perhaps didn't happen, you see. There must have been Gutei, he must have heard something and all those things. But practically I think it is a sort of exaggerated story. But it's a symbolic story. What symbol? First is, he puts up one finger. This is also Zen koan, you see. When Buddha was born, as a baby, it is said, of course, legend, he sort of lifted his finger and said, between heaven and the earth, I alone am the Holy One. And so, even as a Buddha baby. And so, can you answer like that? You see, the Zen koan. What does he mean by putting up his own finger like this? That is the first point for the koan. And then second point, when the finger is cut off, see what is symbolical? Remember, the Heart Sutra says, form and emptiness. No finger stands for emptiness. There is no finger, no particularity, no form. Everything is gone, you see. And when you put up your finger, that form comes, the self comes. You see, it also deals with this sort of dialectics. Form and no form, you see. Emptiness and form. And so we have to realize this. And let me, Shibayama has some nice comments. One comment he makes is, he was a young monk. He has finished his university studies and went to train as a monk. And, he says he was working on this koan, and he didn't know exactly the answer. But, the Zen monks, Rinse monks, everybody is forced to go to Doksan every day. So he dragged himself to Doksan and then went to the master, and then he says, and as he answered, the truth pervading the whole universe. He said, the truth pervading the whole universe. The master, with piercing eyes, stood up and drove me out of the room of Doksan, saying, "You good for nothing monk, you had better go back to the college." And so Shibayama says, Gutei, in what mood was he? You see, he was not a sort of waiting, okay, let the master come, not like that. He was wholly focused on this. You see, he was sort of struggling with this question, and also, he was totally focused. And so he was standing, so to say, on the brink of life and death. If he can't get an answer, he loses himself. He has to get out and get lost. And so he is struggling with the doubt, with the question, with all his earnestness. And so he asks the master Tenryu, how should I have answered? And when the master, without even speaking, puts up his finger, suddenly something happens to him. Because, he was waiting so long and seeking. That's why. If you are not seeking, Zen says, you remember great doubt, great seeking, great effort, and great faith. You are not seeking and you are just sitting, it's okay. Then it is, you won't realize. It will be only play acting, so to say. See? You will get ideas, concepts, but then you will not realize deeply. But okay, so this koan deals with form and emptiness. How do you realize emptiness in form in emptiness? And not only that, how do you realize yourself? Yesterday also the similar one koan I was talking. How do you realize yourself in this koan? That is the point of this koan, you see. And so the two important questions is, how do you realize this one finger? And then when the finger is cut off, how do you awaken yourself, you see. And so that means, how do you realize emptiness and awaken? So that is the koan part. And Mumon, in his commentary says, it's not in the finger, in the Zen, you see. It's not a matter of finger, you see. It is beyond that, and so on. But let me talk, of course, this koan, it's very interesting. I am not going to talk about enlightenment as such, but much more our, what you call, our humanness, you see. What I mean by humanness, all our emotions. Here, this koan is violent. Violence comes. Zen actually is not afraid of using violence, but not violence for violence sake, in order to help the students. It is so to say, out of compassion for the students. Otherwise, it is useless. It is only cruelty, you see. Violence here, and also violence should not be destructive. Must use violence, anger in a constructive way, helpful. But Zen, very often, not very often, sometimes, some masters, they talk about, as if killing is compassion. No, that's wrong, you see. Especially during the wartime, some Zen masters used to say, killing, the war, is only act of compassion. It's absurd, it's wrong. You should not talk like that, you see. And so, how to deal with violence, with anger, with our emotions, that is a question here, you see. In our, what you call, 10 precepts, for example, we say one of the precepts is, do not kill, you see. That's okay. Do not indulge in anger. Here, you see, I am going to talk little about violence and anger. Do not indulge in anger. See, usually it's traditional. It says, do not get angry. But that alone is not enough. Indulge means that, simply sort of, simply you are caught in anger all the time. Anger, violence, anger, rage, and you see, fury. All these go together, you see. All these go together. Anger, you see, the world is full of violence. Don't forget that, you see. And we can't avoid violence. Don't forget that. See, we are, sometimes we think, some Buddhism very often says, no emotions, no anger, no violence. No, you can't escape that, you see. Actually, there are Buddhist deities, wrathful deities, particularly Tibetan Buddhism. There are wrathful deities, angry ones, But they are supposed to guard in Buddhism, you see, not simply destroying. But that's also a problem. There is a god called Shuktan, I think, is Tibetan Buddhism. He's supposed to be protective deity. But, Dalai Lama doesn't want that god and their followers. And big tension between Dalai Lama and the Shuktan followers. There have been even murders. The followers of Shuktan have killed some of the followers of Dalai Lama. All the problems. Hindu deities, no problem, violence and anger. Shiva is a god of destruction. Kali, the woman goddess, she is a wrathful. She, remember, she cuts off the head of Shiva and stands on his corpus holding this head and blood sprouting from her mouth. Goddess Kali, And don't think Christian God is God of gentleness. Old Testament God is a wrathful God. See, a terrible God. He even incites genocide. Old Testament God, all those things. So even deities, you see, remember that is also one side, violence and all those things. But we must know how to deal with violence. That's very important. How to deal with our anger. You see, particularly let me focus on anger. You see, anger, rage, wrath, and so on. I would like to read one or two quotations. This is from Cook and Bull Craig. He has written very nice books. He's a Jungian psychologist. I take this quotation from his book, From the Wrong Side. He's got also a nice book, Marriage, Death and Alive, Death or Alive, and some other books. I think he's still alive. Cook and Bull Craig. And he writes, let me see. Where is this? Dealing with violence consists of having the courage to recognize that as human beings we are violent, that we tend towards violence, and that we could not live without violence. Violence is human, belonging to male and female, proper to children and adults, not even stopping short of old age. To grow and develop psychologically, we have to confront the entirety of our humanity. This is most difficult in relationship to the archetypal shadow, the murderer and self-murderer in us. The shadow is admittedly most specifically human. Shadow means our darker side. I would point out that he who cannot say no to creation is also not capable of saying yes. Violence is a blessing if we have the courage to employ it under the banner of Eros. Eros is love. At the same time, we have to admit to ourselves that this use of violence animates some of the deepest layers of our psyche. When this happens, we meet our murderer and self-murderer. We have to confront the archetypal shadow. For psychological and religious reasons, we have to see and to experience the terrifying in ourselves, the world and God, even if we find the experience awful. Here we can learn from violence. Even though it is horrible, through violence with the heroes we have the necessary opportunity to experience the horrible. It must be under love, under heroes, you see, not simply otherwise. And another quotation I just want to read it. I feel we have to clearly differentiate between morality and moralistic attitude or moralism. Moralism, morality, make a difference. Moralism is perversion or caricature of morality. We can never be moral enough. Morality is the attempt to follow the lead of heroes, to abide by guidelines that make it possible for us to do more good than evil. Moralism, or being moralistic on the other hand, misuses the guidelines. We would have but one generalized moral standard which would also apply to sexuality. We should not harm other human beings and, if possible, not harm ourselves as well. We should love others, or at least behave as we would if we did love them. There would be no specifically moral sexuality, nor would there be such a thing as sexual normality. You see, violence or anger will be all right as long as there is love. But at the same time, be careful, you see. And what sort of love it is there, you see. Not a destructive love, you see. And so we have to be, it is very sort of tricky when we deal with anger and violence. But still, even hatred is sometimes necessary for human beings. Remember, anger, hatred, rage, we can't escape, but we must know also how to deal with that. Another quotation, it is also the book in the library, recently got. Let me quote. Hatred is passion requiring 100 times the energy of love. Keep it for a cause, not for an individual. Keep it for intolerance, injustice, stupidity. For hatred is the strength of the sensitive. Its power and its greatness depend on the selflessness of its use. And another quotation. I suggest that hatred is most likely to focus and strengthen the individual resources in situations that threaten profound grief. We hate the destruction of our environment, envisioning and to an extent already feeling the loss. We hate bigotry because it destroys the humanity of its perpetrator and victim. We hate the Nazi scourge because of our sorrow at the devastation it caused. We hate in order to hold together in extreme pain. In the context of supreme sadness, hatred can provide strength to the sensitive. But the problem is, hatred also can run out of bounds. We can become enslaved by hatred or anger. Then we lose ourselves, you see. And so we must learn how to, be angry, In the New Testament epistle Ephesians, there is a phrase, it comes, be angry, I am quoting, be angry, but do not sin. And let not the sun go down on your wrath. It's very nice, you see. Be angry, but do not sin, you see. At the same time, before the sundown, let your anger disappear, you see. Do not let the sun go down on your wrath. And so you must learn to be angry when injustices, harm, and hurt to you or to your beloved or to the people come. At the same time, we must not be enslaved by anger. If you are enslaved by anger, then it destroys us, destroy others. You see. Anger can come for many reasons. Anger can be many kinds. You see, don't think anger is only one sort. Many kinds. And we must know how it is, you see. And sometimes, you see, sometimes, we are too self-righteous. Self-righteous means, as if we are perfect. Everybody is done wrong to us. Everybody is unjust. We alone are just, We are sort of human beings. Self-righteousness, you see. And we all the time blame and complain. You see, if you complain in the present, it's all right. But complaining about the past, they did like that, my mother did like that, my friends did like that, all the time. See, self-righteous complaint, that will be destructive. You carry all the bitterness, resentment, revengefulness. That is no way. You are poisoning yourself. And this author, this lady Sandra Bugler, she quotes an example, in a Holocaust survivor lady, I think somebody asked them, you see, are you not angry with all those Nazis? She said, I will not allow them to dominate me even for one day. What does it mean? It means not even one day I will sort of allow them to persecute me, I get angry. No, I want to live. And so you must learn how to sort of not to be caught by these things, you see. That's very dangerous. You are caught by this, carrying on, sort of bitterness, resentment, complaining, all those things. You are destroying yourself and then spreading poison all the time, you see. If you are angry, be angry, it's all right, you see. And also remember, in anger also can be instead of passive-aggressive, Passive-aggressive is a technical term. That means, you don't express anger. But you will not also sort of be sort of what you call express your love or affection, things like that. You are always sort of reservation, you will talk as if you are talking nicely. You see your partner, friend, and so on. But there is inside is anger inside. You see, it's not clearing. You see, and that the other person will feel that. They may not pinpoint exactly that. Why are you talking like that? Why? It is common, ordinary. I am talking ordinarily. You talk like that, And your silence can be destructive. You see, your silence also can be hiding anger. You see, all those things. Anger comes in many ways like this. And then also another thing, we all the time think everybody is doing wrong to us. It's a sort of persecutor mania, so to say. All the time. Everybody is sort of, suspecting me, talking ill of me, and looking at me badly. Then also you are lost. You see, look at them with love, with kindness, and so on. Even if they are angry and so on, if you can be kind and smiling, most likely the anger will disappear and so on. But when you need to be angry, sort of thing, you can show anger. Also remember, sometimes, one extreme is too much anger, shouting, hitting, and so on, violence. Or, sometimes in psychology they said formally, catharsis. You go and hit the pillow, do something, and your anger goes. That is no way, you see. You can get some relief, but you can get more angry. There's no use. On the other side, also, like even non-violent communication, many of you have done, they will say, all the time articulate your emotions. You can't do all the time, you see. It is a good advice. You can't do all the time, you see. And most of the time our emotions are also unarticulate. You can't express fully. And if you can express fully, then you are, too much in control of you. You don't try like that. You can express a little, but don't try to make it a method. As a method, you will ruin your relationship with everybody, you see. And so learn how to express anger, both extremes. Avoid the extremes. Sometimes you must articulate, but you can't always do like that. Sometimes, and also remember, you see, if they are very low from your position, we can get easily angry. We can shout anger, we can humiliate them even, you see. That, must be careful not to like that. But they are equals. Most often, we may not to do, we are afraid, they may hurt us and so on, you see. And if they are superior, you must be much more careful. You don't know if you are employer and so on, you don't know what's happening and all those things. And so you also must be careful how to express your anger, you see, all those things. And also there's another way. Sometimes, you feel are magnanimous. I will not angry, I will forgive all the time, and so on, you go on. After some time, you will burst out. That very often happens. You pretend to be holy and kind. Don't do that, you see. Don't be caught like this, express. That is, there's a story. Krishna, you see, I forget his cousin. I forget the name of the cousin. Sometime it says, the cousin was abusing Krishna. Krishna is God. And he has an instrument, what you call disc, it goes like this picture, cuts your heads off, so to say. He has got this weapon also. And he has gone for invitation to some party or some family function. I forget exactly the story. And so his cousin is abusing him, telling him this and this. And then Krishna, somebody, the mother of the cousin or somebody tells him, please be patient, bear with him. How long? At least 100 times. And so Krishna waits. 100th time is over, he throws the disc, cuts out the head. And so we are like that. We pretend to be holy, nice, and so on, patient and bearing. I will not get angry. And then distraction comes. You see, we are violent. We sort of throw out everything, you see. So be careful in all those things. And let me say something more. You see, when we are in children, you see, remember, children can express anger. Look at the boy here. How angry you will get. How shouting you will get. All the children will get angry. Anger is assertion of our individuality. Remember that. So we are not simply anybody and everybody. We are individual. And so our individuality, affirmation, we can get angry and protecting ourselves or protecting the people and the property and honor and so on, you see. And so children, the problem is, they psychologically point out, very often mothers and parents don't allow the children to get angry. With angry, shut up, sometimes they suppress the children's anger. And that will be a problem for children later on, you see. They cannot get angry. If the parents, the mother particularly, allow the child to get angry, but they say the child will feel anger will destroy itself or destroy the other. And if the child or even grown up, we can get angry, but the other is not destroyed. The other can be open and accepting. Then you realize, oh, it's all right. I can get anger and I will not destroy the other. Then you learn how to express anger. Let me briefly say, my father, if he ever got angry, he would have killed me really. You see, people are like that sometimes, you see. I could never get angry, you see. But I think I get angry very often now. and so sometimes parents are like that. And so you must learn, allow the children how to be angry, express anger. After all, the parents have the power and the strength to let the children to be angry. And then you will not destroyed. And then the children will learn how to use anger then. Anger is energy. Anger is power. But if you not know how to use it, it will destroy you. Now coming to Zen practice. In the practice, you must learn how to befriend anger. You see, befriend means make friends with your anger. And I said emptiness. Emptiness is something like, let us say, a ground, a field. It carries you. It holds you in a way. And you can be there. You can express yourself in this dimension. That deep dimension, you see. God or heaven or anything will not destroy you. Emptiness will not destroy you. You can get angry. This is the deep sense. Actually, being in sasana, one practice is, remember, you see, befriending, making friends with our anger, making friends with our darker side, learning to accept, yes, it is all right, I can accept. I can be angry. It's not evil. Anger is not evil. I will not be destroyed. I will not destroy others. You must learn to accept anger, emotions. And also, sometimes, Zen koans, the koan practice is, you see, like a nonsense cutting the cat, this person cutting the finger, and all those things. And the koan practice is in the imaginal realm. You see, remember, imaginal realm. They say psychologically, for children, there are a lot of fairy stories. Do you know, many of the fairy stories are dark. It's destruction, killing, murder, Anderson's or other stories. Remember that, you see, all those things. And some people said, we should not give them to the children. No, they said, the children must also read these stories. Then they will sort of learn how to accept their own aggression and anger, you see. They say, so it's good to give such stories to children, they say. Of course, you should not be only these stories. You must give also all the other stories. The koan practice is like that in a way. It is on the imaginal realm, on the fantasy realm. And you can also, you can also show your anger, show violence. And showing that, how do you know? You sort of learn how to practice and accept your anger, your violence, you see, your aggression and so on. And so that is a practice, remember that. This koan practice, not many koans come, but some koans come. And also some koans, will say, the student slaps the master, not physically, at least, sort of goes like this slapping, you see. That means, you stand there and say, no, okay, go ahead. Master, it's all right. Something like that. And so you must learn even to do that, you see. Not all the time passive. The problem is all the time obedient, all the time passive. No good. It's no Zen practice then, you see. Or all the time violent, all the time aggressive. It's another extreme. And so be careful. And to deal with that, how to deal with that, how to use anger, as Kukan Greg said, we cannot say no, you cannot say yes, really, you see. All your yeses are only passive, you see. And so you must learn how to say yes, how to say no. And also we have got conflicts ourselves before we express our own passions, our own aggression, anger, fear, rage, shame, guilt. There are so many emotions. You must learn to be at home with all those things. Learn. That is also Zen practice, you see. Be with yourself, be with your all humanness. See, Zen is beautiful in the sense, be human. Don't suppress your humanity. At the same time, don't be destructive of the others or yourself or the world, you see. When you are too much insecure or angry or proud, particularly your self-righteousness, your self is hurt, you get mad very often, you see. You won't be destructive. Sometimes, you will not care for yourself or others. You simply go on a trip of distraction, you see. That happens very often, you see. And so we must learn how to be sort of thing. And also remember, you see, violence in everybody is there. You see, as he said, even children, old people, women and men. But very often they say, men are physically violent, women are emotionally violent. Yes, can be very much emotionally violent, you see, the way they deal and so on, you see. But violence is part of us. We must accept, we must learn how to be sort of home with that, how to express ourselves, you see. And we must know how to keep also boundaries and all those things, you see. And that we have to learn by expressing ourselves, you see, by learning what helps, what doesn't help. You see, there's no theory as such. We have to learn how to build up and so on, you see. And then also remember, some people are psychopathic. That means, they don't have real moral sense. They don't feel the pain of the others, you see. They don't feel. They will be sort of, hurting, even torturing others. They say they don't feel, you see, because they don't stand in the place of the other. And so they will be hurt, watching, oh, I see, you are crying, you are doing like that. Okay, let us do something more. They will sort of, hurt and torture and so on. And there's all the people there, people like that, our emotional side and so on. So we must learn how to deal with the people. And also remember, you see, avoid situations where there will be danger, anger, violence and so on. We must learn how to avoid. The world is very much filled with violence. Learn how to navigate yourselves, you see. At the same time, you must also learn how to stand for yourself, you see. All those things. So I need not say too many things, but remember, the Zen practice does not mean that you are always sort of holy, good and so on. No, you see, you must learn how to use all those things. And realizing emptiness means, it does not mean you cut off all your head and everything. No, you must learn how to express yourself in both in compassion and also in self-affirmation. You see, you must have compassion, and also you must learn how to stand for yourself, how to protect yourself, how to express anger, how to say no, and so on. Let me read two stories. One story, it is Ramakrishna has said this story. There was a poisonous cobra on a way, and when the people walked, and some people died by the bite of the cobra, and the boys couldn't play around the area, and so on. It seems there was a holy man coming, and the boys complained, please, Swamiji, this snake is doing harm, please do something. And so, of course, this story. And so the holy man called the snake and put a mantra on the snake and said, don't anymore hurt anybody, you see. And so he went away. And the snake became very quiet, wouldn't do anything. It was simply moving around. And the boys, of course, realized the snake will not anymore hurt. And they began hitting the stones and all those things. And it was very much wounded. And after a few days, the holy man came, returned, and then he wanted to see the snake. He called the snake. The wounded snake came crawling and said, Swamiji, look here, I am going to die. And they said, what happened? So I don't bite anybody, everybody is attacking me. He said, you see, don't put poison in others' bite, but did I say not to his shh. And so, why don't you do that to drive the boys out? Do that. You must learn how to hiss. There is another nice story, I read this in this. There was a young woman who was practicing a Buddhist meditation of loving kindness. You know that, loving kindness, You sort of, take all the sorrow, suffering others, send forth to people love and kindness and so on, you see. So loving kindness practice, she was full of love. But she used to go to the market to buy. But when she was buying, in a shop or marketplace, one man, all the time he was sort of inappropriately touching her and doing all those. She was always afraid of him. She was getting angry. And one day, he began touching. She had an umbrella, took up, threatened, I will hit you, stop that. And then, at that time, her teacher, Buddhist teacher, was walking by. He saw this, that she was getting angry and going to hit her. And then he went away, and she went and apologized. I am so sorry, I got angry, I even threatened. And the master said, next time when he dies, what should you do is, fill your heart with loving kindness and full awareness, bring down the umbrella on his head. Okay. Take. Let us say the Bodhisattva vow. The Bodhisattva vow says, when people abuse you, learn to accept and then you are purified. That is one practice, it's okay. But also you must learn how to also defend yourself, express anger and so on. But anyhow, let us read this. Page 30.
Bodhisattva vow. When I look at the real form of the universe,